Akanksha, let's see what you wrote today, okay? This is the one about food, local or not. Let's see what you wrote. Nowadays, it is easy to buy food that travels miles before reaching the market, without the two. Full stop. Capital S. Some people of India. Did you put the advantages for environment as well as economy to eat the food produced by the local farmers? I do agree with the notion because transportation of the food items deplete the environment. Okay, some problems here. I have no idea what this was trying to say. So let's try it again. Nowadays, it is easy to buy food that travels miles before reaching the market. Full stop. And what are you trying to say here? Let's see. Okay, I suspect this was a little note. Okay, hi there, Akanksha. Let's see what you wrote today, shall we? This is one about food traveling miles to customers. So let's see what you said. Nowadays, it is easy to buy food that travels miles before reaching the market. Capital. Some people of India. Okay, let's try that again. Some people in India, I think you meant to take this out, try to eat only the food produced by local farmers. Get rid of the and get rid of the capital. I do agree with this notion because transportation of the food items harms the environment. It doesn't deplete it, okay? It harms it. All right, let's move on. Firstly, the fundamental reason is that, okay, the fundamental reason for what? All right, you're changing paragraphs now, so it's important to restate certain things. So here, you may want to restate the fundamental reason for choosing local food, okay? Or to produce locally grown produce. That would be a better way to say this. And then you don't need a comma here either. So, firstly, the fundamental reason to choose locally produced food is that the transportation of food items harms the environment day by day. This is because, no comma, these kind of things, no. These foods are mainly transported by airplanes and ships, which consume fuel at a very high amount and, no comma, consequently create too much air pollution. For instance, according to the Environmental Organization, about 184 kilograms per hour of carbon dioxide get produced by airplane, whereas a cart generates about 104 kilograms per week of carbon dioxide into the environment. Therefore, careful with your spelling. Transportation of food is harmful for the environment. Okay, it's a little short, but it gets the job done, so fine. So what you're telling me basically is that you're against food being transported because of the harm to the environment. All right, let's move on. In addition, transportation of food items puts the local farmers into competition. So in order to increase productivity, get rid of that, they use pesticides and chemicals at a very high amount, which would be perilous for the environment as well as for the health of an individual, because it decreases the nutrition level. It decreases the nutrition level of what? The nutrition level of the food? All right, you have to be specific here. Full stop. Also, it causes the soil fertility to decline. India is a prime example, no comma, as 42% of the food district in India uses about 85% of the fertilizers and chemicals on lands in order to produce the food items. Conclusively, the transportation of food items to other nations, no capital here, S, would result, get rid of the S, in the depletion of the environment. Again with the depletion of the environment. It's the third time you've written it and it's still wrong. Because, get rid of the A, the competition. Okay, because local farmers would be forced to use chemicals and fertilizers at a high rate, resulting in the increased pollution in the environment. Okay, so clearly we have a couple of problems here. The first one is obviously grammar. I had quite a bit of correcting to do for your grammar. That's one problem that's pretty clear throughout the essay. There's another problem, though, which for me is even more serious, and it's the fact that you didn't mention anything about the economy. All right, both your paragraphs focused on how this food production affects the environment, but you said nothing about the economy, and the essay very clearly asks you to discuss both. Okay, so there were a couple of ways you could have done this. One way would have been to talk about that locally produced food is good for the environment and it's good for the economy. You could have talked about how it's bad for one and good for the other. Okay? Or you could have talked about how it's bad for both. Alternatively, you could have talked about the good about locally grown food for the environment and the economy here in one paragraph, and the bad for the environment and the economy in another paragraph. So there were multiple ways you could do this, but you really had to mention the economy because that's part of the essay, and you didn't do that. So that's absolutely going to cost you for task achievement. You really have to pay more attention to these questions, see absolutely every element that they're asking you to discuss, okay? So keep that in mind when you're reading your next task. Make sure you cover all the parts of the task, okay? It's very clear in the IELTS grading criteria that you have to cover all areas and all sections of the task. Okay, let's go on. Now, it's really helpful to me when you do these task ones that you include the chart you're referring to so that I can see it and I can look at it for a variety of reasons. It's really important you do that, so please do that in future essays, okay? Include the actual image. So, the given bar chart, it's called a bar chart, okay? We call them pie charts, bar charts, and we call them line graphs. So, the given bar chart describes the sales of Intel and AMD chips in year 2017. Not about, get rid of that. From the graph, it is clear that, no comma, the preference of consumers towards AMD chips increased gradually in the month of February as it doubled its past sales and reached over, I don't know what that is, but after 1 month the sales decreased by 60,000. However, the demand of customers of Intel increased from January to March. I have no idea what that is, as about one something of customers had bought in March. Okay, I have no idea what we're talking about here. Let's see. I see your overviews down here. Overall, the demand of Intel manufacturers' chip was higher in contrast to those of AMD. Okay, so that's fine. Your overview is fine. Let's see if we can figure out what's going on here now. I don't know what this LACS is. I don't know what that other word that I saw here, this as well. Here it's LAKH. I have no idea what that is. Okay. In addition, the sales of Intel chips showed a sudden decline, no comma, but after 1 month it increased drastically, where the sales of AMD remained broadly similar up to May. The bar chart shows that, no comma, in the month of June, only Intel manufacturers' chips sold. Excuse me. And AMD did not record any sales. In July, a sudden drop in sales occurred, and the customers instead took interest in AMD products. Okay, but where's the data? Eventually, the sale of Intel chips rose until December. However, the number of, I don't know what you're talking about, electricians for, had been seen in the sales of AMD company in December. Okay, stop, full stop. In December, the sales were equal to those of January. Okay, and then I already read this, so it's fine. All right, now check out what's happening. Number one, the grammar is really difficult to follow. You've got to start revising your grammar, and I'd like you to start maybe seeing some of the grammar and some of the language used in task 1 to help you sort of phrase your language correctly. It's creating a strain. I'm having a difficult time understanding what you're trying to say. So that's the first part. What else? You had no data. You had no data. So look at this. You had just this one thing here, okay? And then you talked about declines and increases and declines, and okay, but there was no data. So if you look at the band descriptors will tell you. In fact, instead of me telling you, let me show you. Here, take a look at this. This is the band descriptors. So this is task achievement. Look at this. It says there may be no data to support the description. And that's what's happening here. I mean, one piece of data, essentially, is no data, okay? So you really have to be careful about that. Now, just so that I am not misunderstood, you have 24 pieces of data in this chart. I do not expect you to write 24 pieces of data. Absolutely not. That would be the exact opposite of what I want you to do. But you do have to select the important data. For me, it's usually the first, the last month, the high point, the low point, and then anything else that you can somehow group together. Okay? That's how I want you to look at it. So this has numerous problems, and you need to review it and revise it to make it more comprehensible. All right, go ahead and get that started. Error correction list, rewrite the essay, and let's meet back with new essays. Okay, good luck.